Hey guys, Ryan Earnhardt here from CreativeSoundLab.tv. Well, today I'm going to be checking out a fairly new plugin. It's been out for a few months, and I wanted to do a review on this plugin a little bit earlier than this, but at the same time, I really want to master the stuff that I do videos on. So I spent quite a bit of time on this, and in fact, I even did a whole mix just using this plugin. It was kind of an experiment to see kind of what I could do creatively with limited tools. But it also was just to kind of learn the sound of something new. Anytime you have something new, if you use it in multiple instances, then you're gonna hear its very subtle qualities and they'll eventually add up cumulatively. So it was kind of an experiment, kind of a creative test of mixing for me. The Big FrEQ is a EQ plugin by Empirical Labs based on the Low FrEQ, which is a hardware EQ unit. It's a really nice sounding EQ. It has enough flavor, but not too much. It works for, I think, just about everything. And the coolest thing is that there's a saturation circuit after the EQ. At least according to my ears, it sounds after the EQ. And so what happens is if you want to boost something in the lows, you can actually shape and adjust how that saturation is actually being pushed. Sounds great on drum bus, drums. It actually has a really nice kind of bloom to it in the low end. So it doesn't just make low end sound farty or less focused, but it actually helps kind of fill it out and make it more complex, more interesting. So, I have a mix pulled up here that I did pretty much just with the Big FrEQ plugin. There are a couple of plugins on the stereo bus, the pipeline stereo for my stereo bus compressor, a plugin for EQ, and I have an outboard for the vocal. But everything else is this Big FrEQ plugin. So I probably have 20, 25 instances of this plugin, and I'm using the saturation as my compressor. So it's kind of a cross between a compressor and a tone EQ kind of thing. Really interesting plugin here. A lot of capabilities if used creatively. So I want to see if I can do it. This song is called Montana by Hustle Souls. It's out now. It just came out. In fact, Mixerman and I had just put out a new mixing course on this very song. We watched him mix this song top to bottom. I'll put the link in the upper right. Let's check out this track today. Check out the Big FrEQ.
Well, there's no change in Montana. She's a woman, knows her needs. You better give her what she wants so she never begs and pleads. Yeah, women come and women go. That's what makes this world go round. If you ever lose Montana, boy, you never live it down. No, you won't forget Montana once a shot's been seen. You see, our eyes are made of diamonds and her heart is made of dreams. Yeah, women come and women go, but please do heed my sound. If you ever see Montana, boy, you better turn yourself around. She run it dry. She run it dry. Don't even try. Don't even try. She run it dry. She run it dry. Don't even try. Don't even try.
Yeah. So it's a pretty sweet track here. A lot of fun to mix. Brass section, recorded here. Yeah, great track. Check out that new course with Mixerman and I if you want to learn something about creative process of mixing. It's a great course. You can be a fly on the wall for a mix legend. So, a lot of fun to work with him on this track. I learned a lot. Some cool sounds. Now, this plugin fits right in, you know? I mean, we wanted kind of a dirty type vibey sound, and man, this plugin really added some nice crunch to it. I mean, when I first mix this, I'm like, I hope it's not too crunchy, because you know it's easy to go overboard. When your ears get used to a tone, you can very easily kind of go too far. But you know, we have it on bass here. We have it really used as a compressor here. I mean, it's driving it hard.
This won't go wrong if
Yeah, so I mean, it's very musical. I started out, you know, real low. You know, even down here, it's kind of thing where you don't even really hear much of that saturation, and then when you finally get to about 8% total harmonic distortion, or I mean, by the time you're hitting like 14% of that THD, you're really hearing it. But it's very, very gentle. It's very nice sounding. So let's just go over some various tracks that I use this on. I'll show you kind of the dry track, and then I'll show you the application with the big FrEQ and kind of what it can do as far as EQ controls, because I haven't even touched those yet with you. So let's check it out. First on bass guitar. Okay, so I'm really trying to restrain the wideness of the bass here. I'm really controlling how much the bass is occupying, and I want it to really sit in a very specific point in the mix. One thing that Mixerman talks about in this course is how much of distortion that it's used. And it's such a great trick because it's kind of like a compressor to make it sit right where you want it, but it's also adding texture. So yeah, this is so much more than just an EQ. That's why I almost start with a saturation, okay? It's a weird place to kind of create a review video for an EQ, but we're starting backwards on this one. So the finisher is just great. As far as the controls go, and we kind of turned them off and on real quick, but it has, like over a half a dozen different ways you can control the sound here. We have the high and low pass filters. We have the low shelf, high shelf. And then we have, let's see here, 6 different bands. Now what's cool about this plugin is that you can kind of set these wherever you would like. So you can have this, and you can do a big sweep from basically 20 to 20K. But then after you find your spot, you can hit this F for fine. And you can really zero in on kind of what you're looking for. So let's say we want to focus in on somewhere about 120, 130, because we're dealing with a low-end instrument. We can go to that kind of ballpark range, hit F, and now our knob only goes from 64 to 256. So this is actually a great feature of this plugin, because now we have a lot more high resolution on that knob, a lot more control. As far as the other things go with this EQ, as far as the EQ part, I like the width control. I like the slope control. For the most part, kind of leave it at the 12 dB per octave. It can be handy if you want to make some kind of unique looking shapes. It just kind of tightens it up. It almost reminds me of kind of a multi-band adjustment where you're taking an entire band and boosting or lowering that band. But for the most part, I just kind of keep it at, all the way to the left. Another great feature is all these numbers are copy and pasteable, so I can sit here and paste them in, right? So if I want to rearrange the order of, these bands, I can do that. I can just take these settings and, move them over and then reallocate this band for something else. Finally, we have the output and a phase. You'd be amazed how important it is to have a phase a polarity flip, on an EQ plugin, because you're adjusting phase when you add EQ. So if you're EQing some drums, it's really handy to always have that in the back of your mind of, okay, made an adjustment, let's try to flip and then unflip and see if we like it better or worse when we do that. The one thing that I wish was different is that they stuck to a convention. When you have a green button that says on, your eye gets used to green equals on, and then up here, there is no button to push. So a lot of times, I'll go up and I'll be looking for a button to push. So you have to shift your way of thinking, and it can be kind of confusing as far as like what's on, what's off. Here we have white text. Okay, this band is off, but the text is still white. Here, we have white text, it's on, okay? And when it's off, it's red text. So even if you did, red text for off for this gain, that would at least tie in the modes of working between the top half and the bottom half, okay? To me, it's just confusing every time I go between the bottom and the top as far as what's running up top. I forget to actually, click on the words, okay? So that would be, I think, one criticism, but overall, this plugin I think is fantastic. Another thing that people might be critical of is, it's not really a plugin that you click on the picture, okay? Can't click on it. So it's kind of like a analog modeling plugin where you're clicking on knobs that turn. But as far as that, I think it's kind of nice because it keeps you from going too crazy. You can get actually some really nice control when you go to fine. You can kind of dial in one thing at a time very carefully. And it is very powerful. So, even a dB can really do the trick. Okay, so moving on, that was some bass. Let's check out the drums. Now I have kind of a couple things going on here. I have a sub kick, which is just a synth. Then I have the actual kick, which is already distorted. But then I have a big FrEQ on both kicks. Okay, so that's dry. Then here is with just one on the kick in. Yeah, this EQ, it just has just enough bite, Like, it sounds really good. Like, it's not transparent, but it's not too colored. It just has just the right amount of bite that you can really make it sing. You can musically get what you want out of it. And, I don't want necessarily a completely clean EQ that you can't tell what you're doing. You really can hear it. It does what you expect, It's really quite nice. Yeah, you see that? So you can, between going, between these bands and the finisher section for saturation, there's really a lot of going back and forth as far as dialing in the punch, pulling some of that punch out to make it blend better in the mix. It's really nice. I mean, you could almost relabel this finisher and just change that text to the amount of punch of the kick drum. Okay, less punch and more punch. Okay, and of course we have bloom, so it's almost like it's not like a fart sound, but it's like almost like an elongation of the low end. Okay. And the best part is to, you really want to hear this in the mix, okay? It can be hard to hear it just on a solo here. But let's go to the kick bus here. Yeah, so right here at about 3, whatever that means, we can really hear the kick come back, or the punch of the kick. And then over here we kind of lose it, kind of sinks in, it kind of melts in, okay? So it's really quite nice.
I don't come give her what she wants, so she never begs and pleads. Yeah, women come and women go, that's what makes this world go round. If you ever lose Montana, boy, you never live it down. No, you won't forget Montana once the shot's been seen. You see, our eyes are made of diamonds and our heart is made of dreams.
So I'm able to actually have that kick really loud in the mix. I mean, I'm kind of boosting it up just for the sake of the video here, but with the finisher, I'm able to kind of take out the transients, kind of melt it in so that it's not actually clipping anything downstream. It's just kind of lopping off the top, but I mean, you can have it really loud and under control. So again, I mean, this is what makes this such a powerful tool. The top end also changes, which is really nice. So a little bit more top end, I think. Hard to hear in this kick because it was distorted at the preamp. But yeah, let's move on to some other stuff here. Let's check out this snare, see what's going on here.
The diamonds and the heart is made of dreams. Yeah, women come and women go, but please do heed my sound. If you ever see Montana,
That's one thing I really love about this plugin is all the options that you have. And 6 dB is just so gentle. You can also adjust the Q of the high pass, which is also pretty interesting. I think for the 6 dB, it's not doing a whole lot, but for something like the 30, we can see we're actually creating a resonant cut, right? So instead of just cutting below, we're also boosting around that cornering frequency. So it's kind of a double function. Kind of sweeten up maybe a kick drum, but also scoop out the mud beneath it. But here, 6 dB, super gentle, nice and easy, just to smooth out some of the muddiness. It's almost like the mic was probably a little too close to the snare, at least for my taste, had I been setting up the position. So for me, I'm just kind of scooping out some of those lows. That's it. Then I'm using the finisher to basically act like a compressor.
Well, she's meaner than the police, and she is slyer than a cat. She'll make you buy her flowers, she will run off with your cash. Yeah, women.
Yeah, I mean, it's really nice. I mean, you have about 12 o'clock here that you hear more of the lows come in, and above that, it kind of lops off those lows. And then you can also adjust this over here. You know, say we want to do more saturation, so it lops off too much of the lows, so we can add some of them back.
Women come and women go, but this one's not the same. Fall down for Montana, boy, you won't have me to blame. She run and get dry. She run and get dry. Don't even try. Don't even try. She run and get dry.
That's just kind of giving you a kind of a gist of the sound of the plugin, how it does on various boosts around the frequency spectrum. I'll go ahead and turn up the saturation just a touch more at this point.
You won't forget Montana once the shot's been seen. You see, our eyes are made of diamond.
Yeah, so I'm just using the saturation as a sort of compressor onto guitar.
If you ever lose Montana, boy, you. Women go, but please do heed my sound. If you ever see Montana, boy, you better turn yourself around. She run it dry. She run.
Yeah, so really a lot you can do with just the high and low pass. Onto vocal.
Run it dry. Don't even try. Don't even try. She'll run you dry. She'll run you dry. Don't
you can say I can take it pretty far. I mean, this is a bit ridiculous, but you know, I can take it really far, and it sounds great. I'm boosting a little bit at 200 here, and so it's kind of warming up the sound before it hits this. Then I'm going out to a WT comp here, and that has about 5 to 10 dB of reduction on it. And then it's coming back in. I take out that low end, and I also add a little bit more saturation, just as a means of control and of flavor.
No, you won't forget Montana once the shot's been seen. You see, our eyes are made of diamonds and our heart is made of dreams. Yeah, women come and women go, but please do heed my sound. If you ever see Montana, boy, you better turn yourself around. She run it dry, she run it dry. Don't even try, don't even try. She run it dry, she run it dry. Don't even try, don't even try.
I'll do kind of some quick sweeps on the vocal just to let you hear how the EQ sounds on a vocal track.
Never begs and pleads. Yeah, women come and women go. That's what makes this world go round. If you ever lose Montana, boy, you never live it down. Give her what she wants, so she never begs and pleads. Yeah, women come and women go. That's what makes this world go round. If you ever lose Montana, boy, you never live it down. Give her what she wants, so she never begs and pleads. Yeah, women come and women go. That's what makes this world go round. If you ever lose Montana, boy, you never live it down. She's a woman knows her needs. You better give her what she wants, so she never begs and pleads. Yeah, women come and women go. That's what makes this world go round. If you ever lose Montana, boy, you never live it down. She's a woman knows her needs. You better give her what she wants, so she never begs and pleads.
Yeah, I mean, the high end is very sensitive, and sometimes I don't like it. I mean, this plugin, I think, really shines at the mids and the lows. I think the highs, you just have to be very gentle with. I don't find myself doing really aggressive boosts with it. There's a lot of flavor, okay? I don't know if there's a lot of phase shift for this particular plugin, and that's what makes it sound aggressive. But for me, I think it's almost too aggressive, and I find myself just very, very subtly, you know, boosting the highs when I use it for the high end. You know, one thing I think that the low FrEQ had was a de-esser. I might be wrong on that, but I mean, that would have been great, but I mean, you can't have everything. The finisher is just fantastic. I mean, I'm very, very happy with the feature set. So yeah, that was some vocal, you know, there's other stuff on here. Pretty much every track had some saturation, had some EQ from the big FrEQ. I'd love to know what you think of this. If you liked this video, you know, this plugin is really versatile. It can do a lot, and it kind of takes a lot of the cyclical movement of mixing between saturation, EQ, gain staging, polarity flips. It takes all those functions and puts them in one box. So, I'd love to know what you think of this. Be hanging out, comments below.
Yeah, women come and women go. That's what makes this world go round. If you ever lose Montana, boy, you never live it down. No, you won't forget Montana.